Do you ever wonder why most businesses actually wind up closing their doors within the first couple of years? Stay tuned and I'm going to give you a quick insight as to the 6 reasons why I believe most businesses fail when they should have every reason to succeed. You know, I've been doing this for 27 years. And when I say this, I mean everything. I've had restaurants. I've been in the trucking and logistics industry. I've been in the mortgage business. I've also stayed in real estate during that period. And the reality is businesses are all fundamentally the same. You know, the first thing that I think that a lot of people do is they fail to do enough research. They fail to really dig in and figure out how to make their business work because they miss their target audience. They think, well, people are hungry, so I'm going to open a pizza place. But what's really going to distinguish you from Domino's or Red Brick Pizza down the street or whatever else is right around the corner? What is your definition of being different? Because if people don't understand why you're different, they're not going to understand why they should try you. And so if you've done your market research, you'll know exactly who your target audience is, and you'll know exactly how to market to them and get them to become your customer and then turn them into raving fans. The other thing that people fail to do is fail to have good financial management. A lot of people think that, well, I start out with $30,000 and that's going to get me through. But where's your budget? Where are your operational costs? Where are the unforeseen things? And where are the accounts that you have that put your taxes away so that you don't get sidelined at the end of the year? These are very important things for people to discuss, for people to look at, for people to have the opportunity to understand how exactly that's going to work for them. And when you can outline the financial pitfalls that you might face and build in a safety net and a plan to go around them, you're going to find yourself way better off than being reactionary every time something pops up. When you run an unchecked overhead cost where you're not constantly monitoring your financial health, you also expose yourself to financial disaster because you don't really know what your cost of goods sold actually is. And overhead is something that most people miss in that cost of goods sold. They just think overhead is a cost of doing business, and it is, but it should be specified down to the actual widget that you're selling so that you can track that and understand if your overhead costs are in line. One of the biggest things that I see people do is lack of differentiation. And I kind of touched on that when I talked about market research. But what is your really specific difference? What sets you apart and that allows you to go into a saturated market and stand out? And without that, you may not know exactly how effective you can penetrate a market because you're not setting yourself up to be different. And people want to try different. People want to be involved with businesses that do things just a little different. And they want to become your raving fan. But if you can't convince them why you're different is better, you're never going to get them to convert. You've also got to adapt. There was a time in business when I started out thinking I was going to go down the path of building out a very large trucking company. And I began to see that getting involved with everybody else in the logistics industry was going to be running head to head with multi-million-dollar operations, which was going to be difficult with a 3-truck operation. But I began to shift that. I changed that into an oversized trucking company, which was very niche, and I was able to stand out. I was able to change and adapt and become somebody different in a market that didn't look different. I was able to create raving fans out of an underserved market with the same trucks that would have been hardly noticeable on the rest of the road. You wouldn't have been able to pick them out, and we would have had to compete on price with everybody else. But because we were niche and we were able to pivot, we were able to take something that would have failed had I not, and make it something that we had a successful exit on less than 18 months later. One thing that nobody likes to talk about is the leadership in your business. People want a strong leader. People need a strong leader. And if you as the leader aren't willing to roll up your sleeves and do the work and show people why you're different, you're going to be unable to lead effectively. Your staff is going to question what's going on. Should I continue to put my future in this person? Am I safe here? Is this going to provide for my family? Without leadership and a vision, it's going to be really hard to attract and retain quality help that's going to take your business to the next level. Another thing that everybody likes to think about is we've got to scale. We've got to go big. But I've done big for big's sake. What we noticed was our overhead costs ballooned and our profitability went down. So being big for big's sake isn't really the right thing to do. Overexpanding too soon without your systems and your policies and your procedures in place kind of looks like a recipe for failure. It kind of sets you up to become so big that you collapse upon yourself without really knowing why. So when you can create definite strategies and procedures that get you from point A to point B, and you're executing on them very well, not only will you be able to expand, but your expansion will actually snowball, pick up speed, and become something that you can execute much more quickly once you get that system nailed down. So guys, here's the 6 things again. You've got to make sure that you have great market research, great financial management. You've got to differentiate yourself from others. You've got to adapt. You've got to have a strong leader with a strong vision. And last but not least, you've got to keep your expansion in check and not just expand for the sake of being big. So I want to encourage you guys to evaluate these businesses that you're thinking about doing or that you're currently running against this list of things to see if you can help yourself avoid some of those pitfalls.